Some stories are driven by grit, some by vision, and some by motivation. Hello, everybody. My name is Pratap, and you're watching One Heart, One Beat. In today's conversation, we have our very own Social Beats founder, Suneil Chawla. Go ahead and listen to us really intriguingly talk about how he wanted to be an astronaut and continues to hold that dream. And also talk about his vision for the company, his vision for talent, and how he thinks that we are destined to be greater than what we are today. Hi, Sunil.
Hey, Pratap.
How are you?
All well. How are you doing?
I love the energy though. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to One Heart, One Beat. The objective here is to be able to showcase the vision that we have for Social Beat. How are we as human beings at Social Beat? Because I believe people drive culture and culture drives business and business drives people again. So I think the whole cycle works in its own beautiful way. And I think having you here will allow us to portray that, not just that, but also give some sort of insight into who is Suneil Chawla.
Right.
And I personally, when I joined, I wanted to really understand that. I understand the business outlook that we see on LinkedIn, and it's a pretty impressive LinkedIn. Let's be very honest about it. So I wanted to quickly start and touch about something very important. How were you as a kid? Like, let's say 5th standard, 6th standard? What did you really want to become?
A long time back now. But yeah, I think school was, I studied pretty close to our Chennai office in Don Bosco. And yeah, it's a pretty studious kid generally, at least from 6th standard onwards. So till 5th, I don't remember much, honestly. But I think I used to have some sports and some studies, but also a lot of family time. I think a lot of cousins. And I think no gadgets when I was growing up. So it was mostly families and, get-togethers, which had a vibrant life.
What did you want to become when you grew up?
Yeah, I think it's still my dream, actually, to be an astronaut and go to space someday. So that's, I think you'll see some of my clothes, etc. I think it's like in humanity's journey, not many people have gone to space. And I think technology is evolving to allow more humans to experience the size of our universe. So I think it's great. I think during COVID, I got a telescope as well. And, I think went for my daughter and son to see Saturn and some of the planets through a small telescope. It's quite affordable. I think it was quite amazing to see that, we live in a small city, small house, but the universe is unimaginably big. And sometimes you worry about small problems, which I think if you zoom out, it's probably not a problem.
No, I agree. I think it's a humbling experience, if I have to say the least. How did a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid who still wants to be an astronaut, let's make that very official on the record.
Yes.
Right? I hope you get the chance to do it as well. I would love to see that. How does the 10-year-old who wants to be an astronaut start into a space like this, specifically in the digital industry as well as before that? And how does one start Social Beat? I think we'll come to the second question later, but how did you start out in the industry like this, in the digital space or even in the marketing space as such?
Yeah, I think, at least one of my learnings is life finds a way. Like this Jurassic Park, I don't know if you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
So life finds a way. I think so. In my experience has been that, you plan something, but life brings its own challenges and opportunities, and you take on what comes your way more often than not. I think for me, after my higher education, I was in a consulting firm and for a few years, and then decided I want to do something on my own to experience that, but I was not sure. So I actually took off without a plan, and I started researching on a couple of areas. One was the internet in 2010, because it was still pretty new. Flipkart was 2 years old and they had not raised a large round yet. And the other area was skilling for blue-collared workers, actually. So researched the other idea. I think saw that it's very difficult to make money long-term in it. It's more a non-profit initiative, which is why decided to try something in the internet space. First startup, while we got some traction, it was again difficult to monetize in the internet space. That's how Social Beat was born, to build a self-sustainable business which clients can value and hopefully pay us for it as well.
I want to get to the Social Beat journey. I really do. And I think I want to just go a little behind and ask you what I understand the whole financial aspect to it, as well as the whole understanding of I want to be from where I want to start something.
Right.
Was it a trigger? And this is something that I often ask people: was it an overnight trigger that happened? Okay, I want to start something, or was it a mounted
No, I think it was similar to the astronaut thing. I think
Okay.
business and astronaut, these are like on Earth, be a
Yeah.
business guy, and in space, be an astronaut. So I think I was quite, I think maybe because like in my family also, everyone's been in business, and I think we didn't have too much exposure to folks who had become CEOs and top executives. So building your own business looked like a clearer way to part your own journey. Today, obviously, the like MBA gave me exposure that you can do a lot of impact even as a professional, become a CEO of like Tata Digital hired a new CEO, which is from IIM Ahmedabad.
Yes.
So you can do amazing work without starting your own business. But I think during my childhood, I didn't have that exposure. So wanted to start up, and I think one thing led to the other.
It's a beautiful journey, hasn't it been? How long has it been? 10 years now?
Yeah, 11 odd years.
Yes,
I think my
11
first
odd years.
startup. Yeah, I think I started my first startup. That's when I got married
Yes.
as well. So it's kind of like my anniversary and social beat are kind of closely linked.
I like how that's easy to remember too.
Yeah.
I mean, I can relate.
That's right.
Social beat, when it did happen, what were your first initial thoughts around how do you want to shape this organization, if I may ask? What did you want to do with it? Why social beat, and what did you want to do with it?
Yeah, I think it first was just to learn the ropes of the business actually, and I think first few clients actually reached out to Vikas saying, "Hey, can you help us?" And that was based on our previous startup in the commerce space, and he said, "Yes, let's see how we can grow it." And that time we didn't really have a plan or approach. We were like, "Let's take one step at a time." We had a small office of 300 square feet, and 4-5 of us used to sit there and work till late, but we were really enjoying the journey. And, we used to have lunch together. My mom used to send lunch for all of us.
Oh, wow.
For all the entire team till we were 8-9 team members. So it was like a very like one family kind of feeling at that point. I think it's evolved since then, but I think that one family feeling, at least for me, it stayed. But I think obviously as we grow in size, new team members come in, and I think a lot of the HR teams doing a great job at trying to keep that feeling of cohesiveness together across office.
On record, this is not a plug.
Yeah.
No, just letting it on record. But thank you so much for actually letting me know how it started and how is it going on. I think the question is, it's been 11 years now.
Yeah.
What has changed and what has not really changed at all fundamentally is something that I'd really love to get into.
So I think the growth part, I think you should also answer a little bit of how you see social beat later on. I'll come to my questions for you, Pratap. But I think from the start, we have been growth partners for brands. So I think that's not changed, but how we help brands grow has changed. When we started out, there was no performance marketing at all. Media spend used to be 50,000 rupees a month used to be considered a good budget.
Okay.
So I think size and scale has changed a lot in the industry. Digital used to be less than 1% of media investments. Today it's 55-60%. So it's completely tilted in terms of the media investments. I think what's also stayed the same is, I think, goal to also create like a place where we would enjoy working ourselves as well. I think when we started out, the first few team members, we said, like, let's build a culture where all of us enjoy coming to work, and there will always be some stress from clients, from our goals, from processes, but at least not try and escalate that stress just for more financial wealth. So while we have those goals, if someone's not up to that speed or wants to have some time out, not push hard on that. So create a place where each of us have our own space to grow, but at the same time set up ambitious goals which we can all go after and achieve. So I think work culture, we've tried to keep it the same. Obviously, it's changed from like 10 team members to 300. And I'm sure as we scale also, it will continue to evolve. But at a foundational level, I think we have at least stayed true to trying to do that, even if we fail many times.
I think when you talk about the journey from being 10 to, let's say, 300 today, one of the things that I very fondly want to ask is, how is your working style? I would like to call it improvise and moved on from being a 10-member team to a 300, but I would like you to comment on whether it's changed or not changed. How are you as a founder? Has something fundamentally changed in terms of purpose? in terms of values, or how you look at yourself in the mirror when you come into work today, as opposed to when you were looking at yourself, I think about 11 years ago?
I think at least my perspective is that people don't change drastically. You learn and you adapt to some things, but at a foundational level, people are how they are. I think it's difficult to change drastically unless you have some major event. I think I've always trusted people and tried to enjoy relationships. So I think those aspects I don't think has changed a lot. I think you learn to one thing bigger as you scale, and when we were say X revenue, thinking 10x revenue was a mind shift change. And then when I think we've hit 5x out of that 10x now. So from 5x to think of multiplying it again 3 times. I think first a few months of thinking of those goals are a little uncomfortable, and because you don't know how you'll get there. So you put a milestone there, but you don't have a path to that. So I think getting comfortable with discomfort has been one of my learnings. Like, it's okay to, because some things will break. A senior team member might leave, a large client might leave. So initially you'll be like, oh, what's going on? Like, this is too bad. But I think as you see life and the journey, I think you realize that sometimes it's also for the good. Even a large client leaving makes you introspect on why they left, what processes or systems are broken, or is there something wrong in our value proposition. So I think there's always a positive to it. Sometimes the positive is actually larger than the negative also. But at that point of time, you can't see it. But I think that's what I try and do now when there's something which goes off. See, okay, what does this mean for us, and how do we come out of it stronger than where we were before?
I think it also ties back to the whole I look at the universe and be humbled by it, and the same point that I look at the bigger picture, and there's a lot more that I think Social Beat can do. And right. I'm just trying to understand if that's the analogy that I can draw, and it's a fair analogy to an extent, and also look at the positive side of how that is impacting. Is that a fair?
I think so. Social Beat, obviously, any organization can achieve a lot. I think comes down to one, the industry you're in. The second is what value proposition your organization has, and third is after that the execution of that itself, right? So even the last 1.5 years, which have been more challenging for our industry, then even if your strategy is right, you may or may not be able to break out of it because the industry kind of dominates. So first you have the industry, then you have your value prop, and then finally your execution, which includes your talent and processes. So I think sometimes you get the first right, but second is wrong, which is the strategy is wrong. Or sometimes you get 1 and 2 right and the third wrong. So I think hyper growth happens when you get all three.
All three right.
All three right, that's right.
Or at least ideal. All three ideal. I like how we touched upon the industry, value prop, and execution. Are there any current challenges that you are tackling on a larger perspective as well as on an execution bit? And I would love to hear about how you as Suneil dealing with it, or even actually trying to solve for it. I mean, how is that going?
I think good to touch upon 2 things, because all our colleagues are going to see this as well. I think one is the short-term challenge which we had over the last 1.5 years, when a lot of the startup revenue dried up, and I think we've been able to successfully come out of that with a lot of new clients from the industry, which are much more stable. So both real estate, but also B2B clients, larger consumer brands. So that's helped us build a stronger foundation for the next phase of our growth. But it took us 9 to 10 months to get out of it. So I think thanks to everyone who's been part of the Social Beat team through this journey to really contribute and put their head down when the industry was tough. I think on the longer term, actually, the challenge is that a lot of things are going to be impacted with AI and technology, and right from creative automation at scale, ad campaign optimization. So we have to also evolve to make sure that our productivity increases with the right usage of technology, and we also build our own tech which complements all the external tech which is being developed. So I think that's more it's probably going to impact us in 2 to 3 years, but if we don't start preparing for it now, then it's going to be challenging in 2 to 3 years for us to enjoy that scale up.
If you don't mind me asking, how are we preparing for this? Is there a roadmap? Is there something that we are thinking along the lines, a rough part?
Yeah, so I think one clearly is like our first 5-6 years we were mostly a services company. I think we have tried to move to adding technology as a pillar, and with influencer.in we have built a product and D2 scale as well. We've had Neha who joined us and Ankit for influencer, and we've built a strong foundation around that. We have Kunal who's leading on the marketing automation piece. So I think we are seeing how to make tech a much stronger component. While we've always had the services part with us, with Vimal and the team driving that. I think today with our own proprietary tech, we're seeing how we are much more future ready in our business than other agencies out there.
I want to actually come back to you actually getting up in the morning and wanting to come to office.
Right.
I think I understand the vision, which is I think a wise mind conversation to be having from an emotional and a rational mind. What makes you come to Social Beat today?
Yeah, I think two parts. One is the colleagues itself, which are fun to work with and always positive energy. I think our recruitment and even the kind of folks we got on board. We've been lucky, obviously, even a lot of our leaders who've been there for the last 8-10 years. I think that's, I'd say, number one, because even if like shit is hitting the roof, we're losing clients and a lot of issues. I think if the team is good, then you still want to try and solve those problems together. And second is obviously the vision to like grow higher and like kind of feel fulfilled that we've been able to achieve something which is not straightforward. It's challenging. It's not rocket science. We're not sending mankind to space, but at least even building like a 150 or 200 crore business, building tech capabilities, enabling our clients to grow like we've done with both. I think it's something to be, not like proud in vanity, but at least you can be proud as you look back that you've been able to achieve something of worth.
I'm sure about that. Lastly, I ask this to everybody I come across. I do this without video as well. Are you happy?
Yeah, I think I'm generally a pretty happy person. Yeah? So I think I'm always grateful actually, because I have a great family, my parents, 2 kids and wife, and I'm working with my brother. We have an amazing core team. A lot of our clients love us as well. Some don't, which move on. But I think in general, like, you can always think for things to be better. But I think it's great to be grateful also for what one has. So I'm a pretty happy person in general. But ambition gives you that little bit of discomfort because you're not achieving what you want. So that is always like an underlying layer to push and achieve a lot more.
Thank you so much, Suneil, for doing this.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.